Well, good morning, Scouts. My name is Chris Bartell, and I'm the marketing director of the Cascade Pacific Council here in, well, gosh, in about 18 counties all over the Portland, Vancouver, Astoria region, all the way down towards Corvallis, Oregon. And it's just a wonderful place to be, even though today it's raining and whatnot, but we have had some wonderful weather recently. It was fantastic to get outside. So anyway, we will get started here officially in just a few minutes, but I'm just going to give everybody some ideas as to how this is going to pan out and how this plays out here with the Advancement Academy. And who's going to be on with us is Robert Schultz, and he is going to walk us through Family Life Merit Badge. But first of all, I just hope everybody is staying safe and doing well and connecting with friends. And I'm going to ask, I'm turn on chat here just for a moment, but we'll then turn it off because it kind of becomes a distraction. So I just want everybody to make sure that they can hear. So what I'm going to do is allow everybody to just chat for just a moment here. And if everybody can just confirm that they're hearing us, that would be fantastic. I'm getting lots of hellos. Also, if you can just say where you are from. So tell us what city, state, country even. We've had scouts, oh my gosh, from literally all over the world. It's been amazing. Okay, we're saying Portland and Beaverton, Newburgh, Canby, Puerto Rico, woohoo! And oh my gosh, there's so many coming in here. Vancouver, of course. Southern California, Gresham, Canby, Virginia. Wow, this is great. So we are right now, we've got about 200 scouts on this call and on this webinar. So this is really, really fantastic. Arizona, wow, this is great. You guys are from all over the place. So that's fantastic. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to kickstart Family Life. So the process here is a bit different because we're not in person, right, as with Merit Badge counselors. But so we've been likening this. I don't know how everybody else does this at camp, but here we basically have, when you go to camp, you can do your Merit Badge course, and sometimes you get the full Merit Badge and sometimes you get a partial. And so this kind of works the same way where we're having this Merit Badge course and we basically kickstart it for you so you can, quote unquote, meet with this Merit Badge counselor. And today it's Robert Schultz. And so then what happens is you'll try and accomplish as many of these requirements as you can. We're trying to give you guys a way to do this fairly easily, where you will actually upload all of your worksheets and things to a Google Drive portal, and we'll show you where that is here in just a moment. But basically this is kind of like, it's kind of more like camp. So that's a good way to think about it, where you will then receive the approvals and everything, and we'll show you how that works here in just a minute. So I'm going to turn off the chat right now. Thank you all for joining in and telling us where you're from. That's just super, super fantastic. And we'll get into all the requirements here in just a second. So I'm going to turn this off just for a minute because it will just become quite a distraction with 200 of us on here. So hold on one second here. And we might turn it back on here because we'll have some questions and whatnot. But basically, just wanted to welcome everybody here. Robert is from 351. And if you have questions, what we're going to do is we'll actually post this. We'll send an email out to everybody who registered, and it will have the links that you need for this presentation, as well as links to the email address you can reach out to so that we can answer your questions. It's just been amazing. We have had hundreds of scouts on these calls, on these webinars over the last few that we've done, and it's just been amazing. And so then we can get back to you on that. Just for those of you who are in the Cascade Pacific Council or who have visited or plan to visit this summer, we are still doing summer camp. Summer camp is still happening. Cub camps, actually there's some availability still at our Cub camps. For those of you who don't know about the Cascade Pacific Council, it is amazing. We have 5 main camp properties. We have 2 Cub camps, and that are actually resident camps. We also have then 3 Scouts BSA camps. We have camps in the mountains, up in the Cascade Mountains. We have camps on the beach, on the Oregon beach. I was actually out there this weekend. It was just beautiful. We also have the largest herd of horses outside of Philmont Scout Ranch. So we have, right now there's 70 of them. It's amazing. So we've got a great scout ranch and for Cub Scouts and Scouts BSA scouts. So it's really fantastic. And this year at camp, very exciting. We have flushing outhouses at every camp is what we're heading towards right now. We're finishing those up as we speak. And so that's super exciting, as well as new shower houses. And just so you know, for those of you who are doing camp, if we end up having to cancel or anything, you'll end up getting a full refund too. So we just had a lot of questions about that. So this is just a great opportunity for us to let parents and leaders know that we're still on, and for the scouts to know that we're still on, and we can't wait for camp. It's going to be super fun. Also, for those of you who are doing the Camp for All fundraiser, we have some really fun tools. We'll have some links there as well. There's some great videos you can use and post to social media. It's really fun. So anyway, what we're going to cover today is really how the Digital Academy works. We're going to give you some overview of family life and talk about the requirements and how you'll get approvals. But this is kind of how this is going to work. I'm going to hand this off to Robert here in just a moment, but I just wanted you to get familiar with how this works, because again, this is a little bit different than what you're used to. But basically, you're going to see the webinar today. We'll cover some of the requirements. In some cases for our Advancement Academy, we're accomplishing actually those requirements, a lot of requirements right there in the webinar. So we kind of check those boxes off. And then what you'll get is a download link to do the worksheets. And so some of you may have seen these. These are PDFs that you can download and you can fill them out. And so those are great. You'll save them on your local computer, and then you'll submit them to a Google Drive. And in a lot of cases with some of our Merit Badge courses that we're doing, there are additional things like for coin collecting, for instance, we had scouts take pictures of their coin collections. And so they would then upload them to the Google Drive. The key thing with that is, and we'll give you directions on this later too, as a reminder, but you'll just want to name those files. So you'll want to name the worksheets and any other files with your name on it so that we know that it's you. And then we will have a whole bunch of Merit Badge counselors, depending on how many responses we get. So folks like Robert aren't inundated with hundreds of submissions. We'll get a team of Merit Badge counselors who will review everything and approve everything. And then you scouts and parents and leaders, you'll get whoever's on our calls here and whoever signed up for it, they'll actually get a grid sheet. It'll be kind of like a spreadsheet of all of the requirements that you've fulfilled, that the scouts have fulfilled. And then your leaders, your scoutmaster or the advancement chair can sign you off and give you blue cards or put them in scout book, however your unit deals with it. So that's how this works. It's a little bit more like going to camp and getting partials or blue cards or grid sheets, but instead of you meeting directly with the counselor. So anyway, I am now going to hand the ball off as we speak to Robert and let him take the show. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, everybody. A couple of basic things. As we're finding out in the virtual world, if you need to go to the bathroom or something, please leave your device in another room or turn the video off. We don't want to have those kind of accidents while we're in these conferences. This is a Merit Badge with 7 requirements. We, I believe, are uploading workbook, so a lot of your work will be done there. There's one requirement that requires 90 days, and it is your greatest limit to accomplishing this Merit Badge. The bulk of the rest of it you should be able to complete, barring some minor things like there's a family project, and that might cause some delay in getting your project approved and moving forward. I believe we're set to meet 3 more times on this. Chris can correct me if I'm wrong. And you can accomplish most of these in that time. And I'll mention that as we go through the different Merit Badge, or excuse me, requirements. And so with that, I will be asking a couple questions, and I want to draw your attention down to your dashboard. You have the ability to raise your hand, and when you do that, a little blue hand goes up, and we're going to use that in a couple of these because I'm going to ask you guys to give me some examples in response to some of these requirements. Should be pretty straightforward. We're not going to have you lift anything heavy in this this first kind of orientating discussion. And so with that, we will go through the Merit Badge requirements, and as you can see on your screen, there's a brief on what these are. I'm going to read the more expansive version. And so we'll go with number 1, preparing an outline on what a family is and discuss this with your Merit Badge counselor. That'll be done through your workbook. Tell why families are important to individuals and to society. Discuss how the actions of one member can affect other members. And in the past, I've seen folks come up with examples like if somebody's sick and they need some care. That's just my example. Please use your own. That's the kind of answer that would easily satisfy this question. We would like you to fill in some of that information in the workbook, though. I think it asks for a paragraph, 3 or 4 sentences is fair. We just want to get a sense of you and your understanding of this topic with all these in the workbook. Number 2, list several reasons why you are important to your family and discuss this with your parents or guardians and with your merit badge counselor. And I should note, this is family life, and family is pretty much the people that are in your life, often in your home. Sometimes families can be a little larger than that if you have the uncle next door or your grandparent or what have you. So with family, there's no firm, like this is family and only this is family. So, oh, there we have on the screen, you'll see the workbook that you guys will be completing. And you see how there is room for about a paragraph, some of these a little more. And that's what we're asking you to fill out when it comes to these requirements. And so be descriptive. Normally when teaching family life, it's you sitting in a group with a couple Scoutmasters, and we have a better sense of like you, and if you have an understanding of the topic, and that's what we're asking for you to demonstrate in these paragraphs. And you get to type them, so you don't have to worry about sloppy handwriting, which is one of my sad things to admit. I have bad handwriting, so you don't have to worry about that. You just type it. So with that, I'd like to ask the group a question, and I'm only going to be taking one. So first one in, what do you think are some reasons you are important to your family? And if you can use the raise hand feature, we'll grab somebody and go from there. I think Chris has a handle on maybe a better view of this. You can grab somebody, Chris.
Yeah, hold on one moment here. Let's see, we'll take Jonathan Ayers, and what I'll do here is we will chat, allow some chat here. So go ahead, Jonathan.
So as Chris mentioned at the start, some of this is new, so we're working out some things. And I challenged Chris a little because I said, yeah, I'd like a little bit of participation. So give us just a second. We'll get this sorted out. And I would suggest, Chris, maybe unmute the one you've selected and let them talk. It'd be okay with me, or do you want to have them chat?
Oh, that's great. We can unmute you. Hold on one second, Jonathan. We'll just unmute you here. Can you hear us, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Can everybody?
Excellent. So if you can give us several reasons of why you're important to your family, we're going to offer this as an example to the group.
A couple reasons why you're important to your family.
Why you are.
Yeah, is because if they need you for something, like if you're like for a bigger thing, like if you're trying to like get something done as a chore, you can help them. And you can also, you're important to your family because sometimes they have trouble running without you if you have like a certain job and you're away.
That's excellent, Jonathan. I appreciate that. And then we'll lower your hand here and put you back in the mute box. Thank you for that. So yes, that's an excellent example of how one of you guys can be important to your family. And so with that, we'll move on to number 3, which is prepare a list of your regular home duties or chores, at least 5, and do them for 90 days. Keep a record of how often you do each of them and discuss with your counselor the effects your chores had on your family. So with Jonathan's note that sometimes your folks are away and you can support them with different things like chores. So it's a wonderful segue into this topic. So does anybody here have animals? If you have animals, then oftentimes you're tasked with feeding them or cleaning up after them. That's a chore. If you are tasked with cleaning up your house, vacuuming, doing windows once a week or a month or what have you, excellent examples of chores. I would suggest to you that making your breakfast is a little bit on the weak sauce kind of a lane there, but you could possibly put making breakfast in as a chore. Does anybody else have a chore or two that they think is worthy of note to the larger group? And if you do, raise your hand and Chris will grab you and open up your mic and you can let us hear.
Give me one moment here. We will choose, how about Trista Malcolm? Give me one moment here. I'm going to unmute you, Trista. Are you there?
Yes.
Hey, Trista. So what do you think are some good chores? What are a good example of chores that you do?
I usually feed the dogs. Clean my
Excellent.
room.
What else do you got? You said clean your room?
What about pick up the yard?
I pick up the yard.
Pick up the yard? I imagine with the dog, that's a fun task. You got one more, Tristan?
You help fold clothes.
I also help fold clothes.
Fold clothes, laundry. Laundry's excellent. Thank you very much for that, Trista. You great help to our group here. You know, laundry is a fascinating one because it could be from loading the washer and then moving it to the dryer and then folding it. It could be any part of that. Those are all components of chores. So I hope you all can see that it's a wide range of things that you could call chores. It's really dependent on your family. What your family thinks are the things you need to do to contribute. That's really what we're looking for there. And with that, we'll move on to the next requirement, which is number 4. It says, with the approval of your parents or guardians and your merit badge counselor, decide on and carry out a project that you would do around the home that would benefit your family. Submit a report to your merit badge counselor outlining how the project benefited your family. And so in this, we're asking you to complete this portion of the workbook, send in that to the Google Doc submission that Chris was pointing out, and then we'll get back to you, hopefully pretty quickly. There's over 200 here, so it'll take a minute, but I think we can do it pretty quickly, and then carry that out after you get that approval. And I will tell you on this that I've seen things like where a youth might submit that they want to move the bikes from the garage into the shed, and that, depending on the complexity, may not be that very engaging of a project. Now, if they say, and to do that, we have to hang hooks in the shed, and I need the support of a family member, and it's a bigger, you know, when you can describe the larger nature of that project, then that could actually be a useful project, or a project that qualifies for this requirement. In some instances, big cleanouts of the attic or the basement have been submitted as projects. So does anybody have a project in mind that they could suggest to the group as an example of what they might want to do for number 4 here, a project you would do around the home that would benefit your family? And if you use the raise hand feature, Chris will unmute you and we'll share with the group your thought.
Yeah, let's see here. How about Mackenzie Schwartz? So let me unmute you too. What are your thoughts?
Hey, Mackenzie, what do you got for us?
Your electronics setting up.
I was thinking of setting up, so we just got rid of cable and setting up everybody on learning how to use all the different devices we got and connecting everybody and teaching everyone how to do it.
So am I understanding you're like going to share with the family how to kind of network using the technology after you've switched from cable to something else?
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, sounds great to me. Thank you for your participation and offering that for us. So this will lead us to, sorry, a little housekeeping. Number 5, which is plan and carry out a project that involves the participation of your family. After completing the project, discuss the following with your merit badge counselor. And again, I'll refer you to the workbook for some of this discussion. And this is an interesting challenge because it is not the same project as in requirement 4. It is a separate project from requirement 4. And you'll note that in requirement 4, you're getting approval and you're doing the project that would benefit your family. In requirement 5, you're doing it with your family, their participation. And sometimes you'll see folks that are building shelves in the garage, and it's a shelving system, and they're working with the family to move the stuff that was in that space and build a shelving unit and then populate it with that stuff and to kind of get control of their garage or their shed or their outhouse or what have you. So that is just a rather simple example, but just keep in mind that it is with the participation of your family. So that's participation. It doesn't mean mom or dad or Grandpa Joe comes and says, all right, move all that wood. That's not quite the participation that we're shooting for. We're looking more for, and you're with them while you move the wood, although that's not a great example. Number 6 is do the following. And this can actually be done after our next class, but before the end of this course, you could actually do that. So I believe I said 3 more times to meet on this. You could achieve this in that time. And this is do the following. Discuss with your merit badge counselor how to plan and carry out a family meeting. And that's that piece that you're going to want to do in your workbook and submit for approval. And you could do it at the same time that you're gaining approval for number 4. And then it says, after this discussion, plan and carry out a family meeting to include the following subjects. And there's a list of 7 subjects, and I'll allow you guys to kind of check those out offline, so I'm not just reading here and boring you all. And so the family meeting is intended to be led by you and intended to include those in your family. Now, some folks have 2 homes and move back and forth. Don't worry, just whatever home this works in. If you're in house A, then have the meeting in house A. If you're in house B, then have the meeting in house B. And then hopefully you're going to cover this kind of amazing list, this 1 to 7. So I have 3 children, 2 have done family life, and 2 had to do these lead discussions. We did them at differing times because it's not meant to be you do it and then your sibling does it and it's one meeting. You're meant to really kind of come together. And I suggest if you wait a couple days in between, even coming together on this same list, you'll have a chance to think about it. So will your family members. And I can share with you that a lot of parents actually enjoy this portion of the merit badge because it challenges you, fine youth, to kind of talk a little more. And these topics can be a little cringy when you're talking about a crisis situation in your family. That can be a little like, oh, it's a lot, right? Or it could be the growing up process. That's number 2, and it talks about making responsible decisions dealing with sex. So that can be a hard conversation sometimes. And so I challenge you all to be okay with the idea that you're defining a safe space to talk with your family by hosting this family meeting. And it doesn't have to be graphic. It can just be like, what does our family think of this topic? And I think most folks find that it kind of goes where it should go. So don't be afraid of any of these topics. They're all generally easy to talk about, though they might be uncomfortable to talk about, right? And we'll go then to number 7. And this is kind of one you can do just about any time, though I think you get the most out of it if you do it towards the end of this process, is discuss with your counselor your understanding of what makes an effective parent and why, and your thoughts on the parent's role and responsibilities in the family. This can be done in your workbook, but I will share with you that the family meeting really lends itself well to this topic. You will find in the family meeting, often folks find that you get to hear a little bit from your folks. You get to say a little bit to your folks. And so then when you come down here to talk about your understanding, it really lends itself a lot to your understanding. So I challenge you to do step 6 before you do step 7, though that's not a requirement. As you can see, it's just to fill this out effectively. And so with that, we have covered the 7 requirements. We've talked about the 90-day chore chart, and I suggest to you that you can start that today. And there is there's a sample of what a home chore chart could be. They want you to do at least 5 items, and that is really the thing that holds you up because you need to do it for 90 days. And so in 90 days from today, you could complete this merit badge doing this chore chart and the other 6 steps that we've discussed here. Your greatest challenge is the chore chart. Your next greatest challenge is the plan and carry out a project. The projects, as I say again, to reiterate, can be a wide variety of things. The preference is they're not moving furniture from one room to another, although it could be. So with that, we have covered the bulk of this. Look at that, 20 minutes. That's pretty impressive for the first meeting. Chris, do you have anything that you'd like to contribute to this, or do you think we are at a good spot?
Yeah, I would just encourage everybody, really, we all have time on our hands right now. And I think that, boy, you could really get just in the next week or two, really get these things done, which is really fantastic. And then all you're doing is really working on that 90-day process. So you're just doing a checklist of your chores every day over the next 90 days. And so in this case, for this session, and what we'll do is we'll actually send an email out with the next couple of sessions. And so we'll actually, Robert and I will work on our schedules and whatnot, just to make sure we're all in sync there, because we have a lot of these sessions happening. So we kind of work around my schedule, especially. But since we've got some time on our hands, you know, I'd really encourage you to just, everybody to kickstart this today. And because now you have your Merit Badge Counselor's approval to get going. And so really work on some of these today to kind of get you in the groove. And then by golly, you're over the next couple of weeks, you can have most of these done, which is really, I think, just really, really exciting, because some of these can feel kind of like a, you know, a long slog, you know, but if we just get in the habit of it, it's sort of like brushing your teeth in the morning. It's just, this can be a part of your process, part of your habits that you create over the next 90 days. And I would say it's the same for those of you who joined us on personal fitness, same kind of thing. You know, it's really about getting in the habit of doing these things. And now we've got time to do it. It's kind of nice that we'll all head into summer camp, for instance, and have a whole pile of merit badges already done, which is really, really exciting. So anyway, really, that's the main thing. What we'll end up doing is, how this works is, so you all will fill out your sheets here, your worksheets, and we'll give you links to that, but they're really, really easy to find. You can literally just look up, do a search, a Google search for Family Life Merit Badge Workbook, and you'll see this exact form here from usscouts.org. And basically you'll fill out this information. So you'll put your name, and you won't need your counselor's name in there necessarily, and your unit number, things like that. And then you'll basically save it. Make sure you save it with your name, save it with your name. So in this case, I would say Chris Bartel .pdf is what this would be called. And same with any other images that you'd want to send us of your projects. I think that would be so great, and it'd be so fun for us to be able to share what everybody's projects are. That can just really help us connect to one another in this kind of wild time. The other thing you'll do then is, and you'll get a link for this, is you will just drop it right here into the Family Life folder here on our Google Drive. And so eventually this Google Drive will be full of everybody's PDFs and their images and whatnot. And what we will do is the Merit Badge Counselors will then go through it. We'll have a deadline here, basically 30 days from today to accomplish at least all but the 90 days part, so that we can create a spreadsheet for everybody's parcels so that everybody can receive that. So that's how this will work. So it's really easy. You'll download the workbook, and then when you're done with these things, you'll upload it here to the Google Drive. And so the only other thing we've requested is basically in the next week, you'll just send us your ideas for your project. Would be great to send it to us by the end of the week. Would be fantastic, just so we can get everybody moving and approved on that. And but that's really basically it. It's super, super simple. We'll send you, again, I'll send you a link to or an email with links for all of this, so that'll be really easy to receive. If you don't receive an email in the next couple of days, the next day or so, you can email this 492.cpcbsa@scouting.org, and we'll get those questions answered. So that's how this works. I'm going to turn on chat here for just a second to make sure.
Hold on just a second there, Chris. So I did want to point out, this is an Eagle required badge. And we do have a couple extra minutes. So I was going to ask Chris if we might take, it looks like a couple people did the raise hand thing. So we might take a couple questions and kind of give about 5-10 minutes to that. What do you think?
That's perfect.
All right. So if you have a question, if there's clarity you'd like, keep in mind with questions, if you're asking it, somebody else probably is. And there are no dumb questions. So invite those questions to be on topic, and you're welcome to ask. Starting now, if you raise your hand, we can kind of go through that, and we'll just go probably top to bottom. And I see Latha has her hand up. Latha, what do you got?
Actually, hold on one second, because I may be seeing a different order here. I'm thinking, oh, there it is. It's coming in now. Yeah, so Latha will unmute you here, and then you can ask your question. Go ahead.
So I have a quick question about the other merit badges.
Sure.
So my mom didn't get email for like the Google Drive. So like, do I just email you back about it, or
You
So,
can
Lata,
email.
if I could offer something. So in this, there's that email 492 period cpcbsa@scouting.org. And I suggest you should send your question there. But Chris, do you have more than that?
No, you can just send that email to there. And I'm sorry if we didn't respond to you. This has been pretty wild. It's been hundreds and hundreds of emails going into my inbox. So I have a team of people now that are gonna help me out with this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lata. And then I have Sharon. Sharon, what do you got for us? Sharon, are you there?
What?
Did you have a question about the merit badge?
Is that me?
Sharon, yes.
Okay. I think we had raised our hand up during one of the projects.
Fair enough. Do you have any question for us now?
Do you guys have questions?
Oh.
So I guess I kind of had one.
Excellent.
Does it need, so we need a start to finish for project, or can it be, we have a long-term project right now. Can it be just like a portion of that? We actually had a house fire last month.
Sorry about that. That's horrible.
Yeah, we're doing good though. We're all safe. But we're actually doing a lot of the construction on the house ourselves. So we've been ripping up flooring and walls and things like that. Is that something that could tie into this?
Thank you for that, Sharon. And that's an excellent question. And what I would suggest to you is if you have this large project, that you bring that down to kind of a manageable thing. So like you talk about ripping up carpet. So if that's the project for day 10, and that's the project your scout wants to write about and start to finish, that chunk works perfectly. If it's pull the subfloor out or replace portions of the subfloor or pull drywall and put new drywall up, or just clear the room of drywall, anything like that where it's start to finish, but it's one small chunk, that works. And then the goal is kind of group participation in one, and then personal kind of action in the other. So that's an excellent question. Thank you for that. And then the next up I have is Brandon. Brandon, what do you got for us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We just had a question. The chores such as laundry, obviously you're not doing that every day, but I saw on the chart it's every day of the week. Is a weekly chore okay?
So that's an excellent question as well. And the way that would work is, let's say Monday you do laundry, Tuesday you feed the dog, Wednesday you don't have anything, Thursday you do something different. You can work it in that fashion where it's just part of your weekly. Optimally daily. So if a scout gets out of bed and makes their bed, that could count as a chore that one is doing daily. So certainly that could count in that way. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Excellent. I've lost you in the masses here. So if you don't mind muting your box, I'd appreciate it. And then I'll move on to Alexis. Alexis, what do you got for us? Oops. Hold on a second here.
Hi, sorry, she went to the restroom, but she was wondering since, well, there's two parts because I got 3 kids doing this. We're prepping to PCS move, so with the military. Could their projects be kind of related to helping us downsize and declutter?
Yeah, so I think the challenge there is going to be for your youth to kind of articulate how that is how that's a project. So for instance,
because we have a weight limitation.
yes, no, I'm familiar with the process. But, so if it's we're not taking this KitchenAid blender or mixer, we're getting rid of it. That's not really the youth kind of. I mean, there's a way to make the youth weigh in on that. I guess the goal is that we want to see the youth engaged in the project, and so if you can put that into words, how they're being kind of central to that effort, then that usually works best. And then it certainly could be like Jimmy's got to pack his room, or Sandy and Jimmy have to pack their room, and they have to work with these criteria that they've come up with, must take, can't take, like
Yeah,
the
that's declutter, downsize their rooms is what their job is going to be here soon.
Yeah, and if you get the sense of like my direction about how you can kind of compose that, then yes, that would work. Yeah.
All right, and then my other question is, my son both of them technically have already started this a couple months ago, but their counselor has PCS'd. So can we send you what they've done so far and just get a partial?
So here's the challenge with that. We are working across, well, actually, I think Chris noted globally. So different districts and standards, and trying to bring all those workbooks together might be a challenge. If they have the workbook that they have started working on, and it includes like a start date for their chore chart, we may be able to work with that, because as we were receiving these, there's no real notation on them of like when they were started or under whose. So if we're reviewing them in that sense, I think we could accomplish that. If we're trying to like fill in their requirements on a blue card that is almost complete but not quite complete, that creates a challenge because of the number, like over 200 in this class. It creates a challenge. So I would suggest that if they've done those portions of the workbook and you send that workbook in, we're going to treat it just like every other workbook. If another counselor has looked at that and already said these three are okay, you may run into that situation where one counselor sees it this way, another counselor sees it that way. But I doubt you're going to have much. I mean, certainly if I'm reviewing it, I'll have that sense of it, and we'll move forward from there. And really with this stuff, at worst, let's say they do the family meeting and they've reported on that, it's not well reported. At worst, they'll have another family meeting, or they'll rewrite how they're reporting on it. So we can get there, but I would not say that we're completing partials, if that makes sense.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your question. We appreciate that. Thank you for being part of the class. That was Alexis. And then let's see what time we got. It looks like we have time for a couple more. So we'll go on to Aaron. Aaron, are you there?
Yeah.
And what's your question, kiddo?
Me and my brother are both doing it. So can we do the same activity? Can we do the same working together project for our family?
So this is another challenging area. What we're hoping for in this is that individually you're thinking critically about what you're doing, and that individually you're planning something, right? So if you go into two different rooms and plan the same project and have it in different reflections, that could work. I mean, it's not ideal, but it could work. Ideally, we'd like you to plan a project and your sibling to plan a project, and then offer them in that way. We'd like one of you to do a family meeting, and as I suggested, maybe wait a couple days and the other one do a family meeting. And in that regard, if it duplicates, that's not a big deal. But there is something to be said for having your time as a patrol leader, right? And so think of this in that regard. Like if you're a patrol leader and your sibling is an assistant patrol leader, would you do the same thing? And then if it switched and they were patrol leader and you would assistant, how would that look when you're planning a camp out or in charge of the patrol? That's kind of what's happening here. We would like one of you to be in charge of the meeting, and then the other one to have their chance to be in charge of the meeting. And then we'd like one of you to plan an activity and the other to plan the activity. When it comes to number 5, where you're doing it as a family, you could certainly collaborate and come up with something. Certainly could. How you do that is up to you. How you note that is where we as counselors will say, wait, this doesn't make sense. Wait, it does. And for that, I suggest run it by your parent. Hey, does this make sense to you the way I've written this? Because we're doing something similar. Does that make sense there, Aaron?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for your question. Thank you for being part of the group. And then I got Mason. We're coming to you. Mason, what do you got for us? Mason, are you there?
There might be multiple Masons.
Nope, you're the one. I unmuted you.
No, they're not saying the last name. It's just like, Mason, are you there?
Yeah, Mason David. I can hear you
Yeah,
talking.
it's Mason David. Wait, how does that?
Well, here's the science. Everybody's muted unless we click unmute. And when we click unmute, and you have a live mic, then we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right, Mason, did you ask a question? How does it work?
All right, we'll let you guys figure that out, and if you come back around, then certainly can try again. Oh man, Josie, you got anything for us, Josie?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
You got some echo. That means your
That's my
volume's up
brother.
on the speaker.
Okay, thanks. So I was wondering, for the family discussion and like covering the topics.
Yes.
I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 10-year-old sibling, and I'm not sure how we're gonna be able to cover that. Would we just make it for the siblings that are like age appropriate for it?
Right. So let's say that your concern may revolve around like the drug addiction element or substance abuse or family finances or family crisis. In those instances, yes, you want to be sensitive. If you have a 3-year-old in the room that doesn't quite understand the gravity of the topic, you may want to give the 3-year-old some cool toys and ask him to play in the other room for a minute. Or you can adjust it to an age-appropriate conversation. I'll use this example. So Uncle Joe has an addiction, whatever the addiction, doesn't matter. And we're wanting to have a family conversation about Uncle Joe, and we have mixed ages in the room. So we might say, hey, we want to talk about Uncle Joe. Hey, everybody, this is kind of sensitive. Some of you older kids know what's going on with Uncle Joe. Some of you don't. And let's just talk about that Uncle Joe needs our support in this time of struggle, and that we need to be aware. And then you might say, and hey, could little one A and little one B go into the other room for a minute? Okay, so Uncle Joe's issue is XYZ, and we're doing XYZ to support Uncle Joe. Okay, little guys, come back in, and now we're going to talk about good etiquette and manners. You could certainly do that. You could leave it as the last thing you talk about and ask them to leave their part of the meeting. It's been my experience that real little ones are happy to leave the room if there's a long discussion of something. So does that, do you think, answer your question there?
Yeah, that covers it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for participating. And then we're going to Jonathan. Jonathan, what do you got for us?
So for any of the questions, if you have like a complete sentence and it like answers the question, does it have to fill out the entire box, or is there like a minimum sentence criteria?
Excellent question, Jonathan, and I appreciate that. You do not have to fill up the entire box. I think for some, there's value in it because you can more fully describe what's going on, but I suggest 1, 2, or 3 sentences. 3 is ideal for me to review it, because keep in mind, you're wanting to communicate an idea to somebody that doesn't know you or your landscape. And so in that, 3 sentences can often really hone in on that, whereas 1 might not. So let's say discuss with your counselor your understanding of what makes an effective parent. I think an effective parent pays the bills. That's not an answer that I can just readily accept, because it lacks, the rest of it. If you offered something more full-bodied than that, then certainly we could get there. So hopefully that makes sense to you.
Yeah, and my second question was about the chart for the 90 days. So we filled in so if like my duty 1 was to do the dishes and duty 2 was to do my laundry, like one of the other people asked, would you just do a different chore for that day, or would you just do the chore according on to what day it landed on? Like I usually do all my laundry on Friday, but it's a chore that I still do. So would I only fill that duty 1 in on Friday?
Great question. And yes, if you only do it on Friday, you'd put it on Friday. Some things are going to be weekly. Some things are going to be daily. If you're washing dishes and you have siblings and you share that responsibility and it's every other day or every third day, certainly you're washing dishes and you would just chart. And that's where the daily element comes in. So if it rotates so that it's not necessarily the same day each week, you can track that more easily in this form if you're doing daily chore chart. If you have an animal and you have to caretake the animal, if you have an elder, reading a book to Grandpa Joe that is in his room and doesn't get out much is a wonderful thing to do and could be a thing you do weekly. So all that range you can do and you can illustrate. And yes, it doesn't have to be every single day that there's something on that day. Ideally, though, you are contributing every day. So, you know, whatever works with your family. And thank you, Jonathan, for the question. We appreciate that. And I got time for one more, and then we're going to close this out, and we're going with Ben. Ben, what do you got for us? Ben Machuca. I see you, Ben. You got a little echo, and you got to speak up a little. What do you got? Hey, Ben, I'm going to mute you for the group. You're getting a lot of echo and some lag. If you want to submit your question through email, we'll take care of you that way. Sorry about that, Ben. Robbie will let it go to you, or excuse me, Ryan. Ryan will let it go to you for the last question. What do you got, Ryan? Uh-oh, we're still getting some lag. Ryan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so my question was, I didn't really understand the Google thing.
Excellent.
So do we just do the packet online, and then what we have at the end of the week, do we send it to you?
Actually, I'll explain that here. So what we'd like you to do is you will have a link to download and save the Family Life worksheet. So it looks like this. This is exactly what it is here. And what you do is, so it'll look like this when you pull up the link. There's a little button here that says download, and you click on that, and it will download it onto your PC or your Mac. Okay, you'll save that and save it with your name. That would be really great to save it with your name. And then what you'll do is when you're done with it, it's really, really simple. You go to the Google Drive here, and you can just, it says drop files here. And you can literally just drop a file right onto there. So for instance, I'll just put up the Cascade Pacific Council logo. It says uploading, and beep, it's right there. So that's as simple as it is. It should be fairly easy, but let us know if you have questions or if you have run into problems.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then if I could tag one thing onto that, you'll note in the chat that your full name is there. And when he says your name, I suggest you put your full name, really just so we don't get 6 Ryans or 6 Bens or what have you and have an issue trying to match them up. So if you just put your full name in there, then we can make sure. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris to wrap up. And thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure. And, you know, don't forget to send that stuff in. I'm happy to review it.
Yes, great. Well, thank you so much, Robert, for helping us here. This has been fantastic. And thanks to everybody for your questions. If you still have questions, you can email us here at this 492.cpcbsa@scouting.org. And I will be sending an email out from this email address to everybody who is on the call. So if you have registered, that means that we have an email address for you. And so you can email us there. If you did not actually register and somehow you got a link and you were able to get on here, you'll want to send us an email to there so we can send you those links as well. So hopefully it's going to be pretty easy for you guys to accomplish this and to get started. And we're really excited to offer this merit badge as well as other ones. We have public health happening later on this week and pets as well. So if I saw some of you had pets right in your lap. So feel free to join us. That's going to be a Thursday, the 26th, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So you can watch that at the advancement page or the Advancement Academy page at the CPC website, and there is a link on our home page to this page here, and so it has a bunch of information there as to the steps and when our merit badge sessions are, things like that. So anyway, let us know if you have questions, but that's it for today. We want to just thank you guys so much. We had people from all over the world, and that was really, really fun. It's fun to see, and we can't wait to see your projects. And good luck, everybody. Stay safe and be well, and thank you so much for scouting with us. And we'll talk soon. Have a good day. Bye.